Join Natalie.
Welcome back to Matchday Live. A big thank you to Alistair Mann and Michael Brown for the excellent first half commentary as always. And a big thank you to you for joining us again here. I am joined in the studio by Nedum Onuoha, Karen Bardsley and by Steven McInerney. So 0-0 there at half-time. And as Alistair was saying in his commentary, if the game did stay this way, it would mean that City would top the group and that Dortmund would qualify. So a draw all round at this point, I'm sure everybody is fairly happy with. Would you agree, Nedum?
45 minutes to go, no. Like, you do want goals. I think Dortmund overall, they've seemed like defended well. And they've had the best opportunities, you could say. I think Adiemi, in terms of attackers, looked good. And Moukoko as well. I think he had the best chance, and you can see the sort of prospect that he's going to be, especially as a 17-year-old. So I think as it stands, City will be happy to have not conceded, but then they'll be looking to sort of improve the attacking a little bit, because Dortmund aren't showing them that much, but there's still one or two little areas that maybe City could exploit going forward. And I imagine going into the second half, that's what will be reviewed, because this is, the best managers make adjustments. So I imagine there's going to be an adjustment made and better opportunities to come in a second.
Huge amount of possession, Karen, for City in that first half, so 68%, but no shots on target.
Yeah.
What do you make of that first half?
Yeah, I memean, stats-wise, it's the ones that matter kind of aren't really there, in terms of like shots on like attempts and things like that. You kind of just want to see a bit more actual. How can I explain it? Just like real instinctive attacks. A lot of it feels very probing at the moment. Kind of, what are you going to do if I go here? I'm going to ask questions of this, and it just kind of doesn't really seem like a comprehensive performance in terms of, from back to front. So, yeah, I'd love to see some more shots. I'd love to see some more goals, obviously. But you can see what they're trying to work out in terms of like the overloads, centrally getting the ball out wide for Mahrez and Cancelo getting forward. But yeah, just the final ball, the final opportunity, just needs a bit more of a clinical approach, I suppose.
In terms of the goalkeepers union, though, you must be very happy. Stefan Ortega looking good, looking solid.
Yeah, no, I think he looks really comfortable, and I think the team looks very comfortable with him behind them as well. I think from what I know a little bit about him, he had a real successful career in the Bundesliga before he came here. And yeah, he's made some, good saves, and he's been patient in his set position as well. But yeah, solid all round in the back, and maybe one or two questionable decisions around like the runs through from is it Moukoko and that decision making. But on the whole, like I don't feel concerned.
So we're seeing some passing statistics just now there, and you can see that the top 5 passers in the game are all City players. Gundogan up there with 95%, 77 passes, then Rodri, Ake, Diaz and Cancelo. And then the Dortmund player with the most passes is Bellingham, on a 100% record, but it's only 25 in comparison to, say, Ilkay Gundogan's 77. So it is kind of a reflection. Oh, Ruben Diaz on 100% as well, I should say, 53 passes. A bit of a reflection there on our dominance in possession, Stephen.
Yeah, obviously that's what I kind of expected to see. I think there were early signs of what we discussed on the pre-game show of City reacting to not having the ball against Brighton. I think it was really obvious that the really obvious triangles that Guardiola's made famous, the little kind of give and go movements where you see the players, run off each other. There was obvious examples of that, particularly down the left with Cancelo and Phil Foden, linking up really nicely. But I think we haven't really turned it into anything that means anything. So ultimately, I think, as nice as the passing has been, I don't think Pep will be happy even if we go through because of the performance. Pep's a perfectionist, So he could run 7-0, he could go, he wasn't good enough. That's what Pep makes him, that's what makes him so brilliant. And then the best was just the rest. So I do think Guardiola right now will be a little bit frustrated. And it's not because of the passes we have made, it's because of the ones we haven't. There's been a few chances where we could have played, a player in behind, but we've slightly overhit it, or we played it 2 feet when it should have been into the channel, a little bit more ahead of them. Nothing terrible, but it's just that decision making hasn't been perfect so far. So it's all very nice, like keeping the ball in the middle of the park, which we've done very well. But I think you'll want to see a little bit more going forward.
In terms of the Dortmund team, Adiemi has been a bit of a handful there on the right wing. You mentioned that before, Nedum. Has he been one of the standout players for you? And how do you think City will counteract this in the second half?
I think it has been, but I think it's been based around some of the counters that they've done. I think overall, Dortmund, when they've come into attack, some of the chances they've had has been because there's been a change of tempo. And all of a sudden, Adiemi's running at you, and you've got Moukoko, and you've got other people running into the box as well. So I think he has been good from that standpoint. But then also, I think the key for them, as we can probably see, is like Hummels is playing well. Yeah, Hummels is dictating the play at the back. And it's not to say like he's completely stopping Haaland or anything like that, but it's significant because we looked at the passing stats, and of the 10 players that were listed there, most of them have been in defensive areas making those passes. So I think in some ways it shows like that's what's going on for City, that's what's going on for Dortmund. But in Hummels, like he's playing some good balls in behind to like stretch the game, and that's what this game kind of needs. Because I think for Dortmund, they've got it right so far, whereby they're defending pretty solidly, then change the tempo. But for City in possession, it seems like it's kind of one tempo at the minute. And unless they have that injection, it's not really going to make that sort of like a difference overall, because maybe you wait for a mistake as opposed to being more clinical and finding a way through it.
How much of Hummels' performance today do you put down to Haaland not getting any big chances yet? Is that more City or is that more Hummels?
No. I think it's Dortmund's organisation, to be honest, because I think the people standing in front of him are doing such a good job that Hummels is never on an island.
I mean, they're denying him, obviously, service into the box as well, aren't they? So there's an element.
He's not getting wrong. He's reading the game well and stuff like that, and he's playing well. It's not like he's won every duel he's had to go for because he had to do fewer duels. He's had fewer duels in this game so far than probably some people would have expected, and it's because City is struggling to be able to break the lines and go through the middle in a way that maybe they would have been able to against other sides. So I think he's doing well, and to go back to Defenders Union, he's organising the people in front of him to be in the right place so that he's to do as little as possible.
Can I say the most important position on the pitch is a defender?
Mate, the easiest... as a defender, and this is probably the same for many, you want to be able to defend well, but you'd rather not defend at all.
Yeah, of course.
And that comes from having the people around you doing great jobs, and as a consequence, anything that you try and deal with, you're more favoured than things being against you, so you don't have to be last ditch. You can just be in control, and he's sort of giving off that sort of air of control at the moment.
That's a major undervalued point. I don't think people recognize that enough. Even like from goalkeepers, like talking and organising what's in front of you. Yeah. You control the space, you control the opponent, and makes your job nice and easy.
For sure.
In terms of the best chances of the game, it's probably Mkoko's chance in about the 35th minute there. That the cross had come in from Adiemi, who'd been so great on that right-hand side, and he kind of just drags it wide there. As I say, we haven't had any shots on target, but that probably is the best chance, and perhaps he should have done a bit better.
He probably should have scored. He's probably quite frustrated at half-time, and I mean, that is the kind of chance that's made his reputation so far as one of the hottest young prospects in European football. And maybe the stage was quite big, maybe it was a little bit like, this is, I'm 17 years old here. Not that he's not, he got a lot of game experience already, but it could have been that he snatched it a little bit because it is the Champions League, it is on the biggest stage in domestic world football. And but he showed it once again, the pace. I mean, he was in behind Diaz and Ake. Ake in particular can run, and he got ahead of them, and he should have scored. I'm sure. The only thing I would say, though, just don't give him another chance, because you do that, he's going to score. No, you had great strikers, the first ones to give me, but after that, you don't give another, they'll score.
Well, the crossing for that chance comes out on the right. As we mentioned Adiemi a few times now, he does twist Cancelo a bit for that opportunity. Are you concerned at all, Karen, by the fact that Cancelo's on a yellow card for this second half?
Yeah, I do think, it does kind of change the context of the game and the way you approach the game a little bit, because, you can't maybe, go flying in. Not that he would, but, it takes that physical element away from how you defend. I think the question's probably best suited for a defender.
I think in terms of being on a yellow card, there are certain people who like to sort of live on the edge anyway, so then the moment the yellow card comes, all of a sudden you have to completely change your game. But for Cancelo, of all the things we've seen, we don't see him a lot on his backside trying to be kicking people, do we? Yeah. So in terms of how he will try and defend, he might take half a yard back, but he's not going to be lunging in.
I think what it does kind of change is the unpredictability of what the referee is going to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because straight away he's gone for the book early on in the game, so he's clearly not afraid to do it.
Which in some ways is a shame, because it will maybe affect his performance. But then from Cancelo, I think one thing we saw, for as good as Adiemi's played, Adiemi's also played well because he's defended Cancelo quite well when he's had to go back into his area. So it does work both ways. But, he'd much rather have the freedom to play without a yellow.
I think also, you mentioned a great point about, the distances that they're putting in, like, is that tenable? Is that something sustainable for those two over the course of the next 45
We'll soon
minutes?
find out, but I think the problem is for Cancelo, the way it tends to work is as a defender, when you get tired, you can't look at the bench, but for the attacker, it's like, right, next man up, and here comes the next flying winger. So, cool, let's just deal with this,
I'm loving this discussion between the three of you on today's show.
Not me, that's just
Yes.
It's a massive passion, yeah. We'll sit back and
Excellent
listen.
debut. Excellent debut, Karen.
Relax, relax. Don't big her up too much. Got to keep it grounded.
Thank you to all of you for sending in your WhatsApp questions. I'm going to try and get through a few now. Also, just want to mention a question that we have had in from Mickens for me, asking why I'm wearing a Dortmund shirt.
It's a great question. Mickens, it's a great question.
Mickens, I'm so sorry. Just
It's
a
a
reminder.
great question. That's superimposed. That's not
There's
real.
the City badge.
That's not real. That's not real. That's not real. That's not real.
Well done to the graphics department.
Yeah, well done, guys. Well done in the back.
I got dressed. This is one of my favourite City training
Dortmund
tops.
tops are my
of the
favourite Dortmund
season.
tops, yeah.
They even added the audio
Forgetting.
there as well, you know.
Forgetting who we were playing. Brilliant. I swear that's what it was. But yes, a very, very good question. Absolutely loads of questions coming in. I'm just whizzing through, picking out some of my favourites. Ben Grossness has said, my question for today is who would win in a 1v1 match between Nedum and Karen? I'll go to Stephen for the answer.
In what? Like just
I don't know.
Breakdance fight.
Yeah,
I'm
anything.
backing the goalkeeper.
No.
Yeah, goalkeeper is going to, you know.
I've had to retire because I have like one leg, so I think
I'm backing
Nedum's gonna
Nedum
win.
here.
Yeah.
Right. If it was academy me, I'd back myself.
Yeah.
But me as like the defender me as a pro, I got back.
Well, you're about like a
That's an
street
international
cage thing here, you
goalkeeper.
know, like a street cage. Like,
Yeah, we don't
cage
do that.
match.
No. Relax yourself.
yeah,
Relax.
make it happen, producer Darryl. That's what I was saying.
Yes, that's what we want. A cage match between these
Goodness
two on next week's Matchday Live.
Mini one.
No, Human has asked, why does the group think that Cole Palmer has not started this game?
Because Riyad Mahrez exists, and that's no disrespect to Cole Palmer, but you know Riyad Mahrez has been for the past God knows how many years one of the best wingers in world football, and I think Pep has been quite vocal, which is uncharacteristic of him actually. Notably this season, he's called a few players out publicly saying the form hasn't been great, and Mahrez is one of them, but there's a element of kind of give and take, and you have to show some players a little bit of love every now and then and give them a chance to find that form again, because you can't play good football until you're on the pitch. Cole Palmer is young. He's been really impressive. I think he's brilliant. I think he's going to the very top personally, but his time will come. Mahrez, you do not keep a Mahrez on the bench because if Mahrez finds his form, well, he's Riyad Mahrez, and that to me is enough reason to play anyone.
Brilliant questions, as always. I always love your WhatsApp questions. Do keep them coming in. If I get a chance in the full-time show, I will ask some more, but we do really appreciate them. There's absolutely loads and loads and loads today. So thank you so much. Now, the players are about to come back out. So just a quick final word. Nedum, what are you hoping to see in the second? Oh, well, there is Manuel Akanji and Bernardo Silva warming up.
This is very interesting.
Defenders coming on, yeah.
So maybe that's for John Stones coming back from injury.
Yeah.
And then Riyad, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Riyad.
For a different sort of setup, but we'll see. All I want to see anyway is goals. I've not seen a goal in the studio for a very long time. So I think the time has come. I want to see.
Are you a jinx?
Am I a jinx? No. Never have been, never will be.
We best
do this, yeah.
We best see a goal in this second half now, otherwise.
I apologise, yeah. If you see me on this show.
There's a narrative here.
Yeah.
Narrative, yes. Thank you, Nedum. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Stephen. Really, really enjoyed that discussion. Thank you so much. We will be back at full time, hopefully talking about Manchester City finishing their group top of the league. Now we're going to go back over to the wonderful Alistair Mann and Michael Brown, who will be giving you the best second half commentary around. We'll see you at full time.